Welcome to the Paisley Pirates podcast, your ringside pass to players, coaches, and the people who keep the fire burning. The ship sails with all of you on board. Coming up in this episode.
I turn up and you've got the shutters been ripped off, the doors off, the hinges. There's a hole in the side of the shop that we didn't know that was there. All of the equipment is burnt to a crisp.
Obviously, I'm absolutely humbled and completely blown away by the support and appreciation, which is great. I still find it really weird.
I had basically went from the first ever skating session that happened in the lagoon. I was at it, and then I basically grew up in that place. The same as Pamela, we grew up in there.
I haven't been in since you guys get married, so belated congratulations as well.
Thank you very much.
So today we're talking with Stevie and Pam of Cold-Blooded Sports. You've been an institution now for hockey and skating in Paisley for, well over a decade. But most importantly, I think we've kind of broached this by circumstance. What's your favourite biscuit?
It's got to be an Orange Club.
Well, since I'm allergic to chocolate, I'm going to have to say a hobnob.
If you ask Al Gould, it's a mint yo-yo.
Yep, exactly. Mint yo-yos for Al.
Mint yo-yos for Al. I'm going to remember that.
An in-joke with Al. Every time Al used to pop down and visit us, Kettle would be on. I would message him, Kettle's on. He'd say, Bram, bring in the mint yo-yos. But I think by that point we didn't even make them.
Probably good old mint Viscount by now.
Oh, you can't beat a mint Viscount.
Do like a mint Viscount.
I don't think I've had anything like that since I was about 12-year-old.
Oh, you're missing out.
He did used to eat chocolate. He just became allergic to it when puberty hit.
Yep. I still say it's a ginger ale thing.
We'll wait and see what the next generation does.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's start things from the very beginning. How did CBS come together? How did it happen? How did it start?
Wow, that's a question.
Right, so I'll start with saying back in the day when I was probably about 10-year-old, I was on a supporters bus for the Pirates going to Telford, and myself and my cousin were sitting side by side, and the two of us had this pipe dream that we were wanting to start an ice hockey shop. David used to play with the Paisley Junior Development, and I played with the beginners at the same time. And we always had this joke that he would get all the goalie stuff and sell all the goalie stuff, and I would sell all the player stuff, and we would have this big massive shop. And it kind of stuck, and it's stuck ever since. And then obviously years later, when Pamela and I were friends at the skating and stuff like that, Pamela had moved away, and when Pamela then decided to stalk me on Facebook, she decided to stalk me on Facebook, and then she said to me, "What do you want to actually do with your life instead of working in a sports centre?" I says, "I really want to open an ice hockey shop." So
I said, let's do it.
Pamela was the driving force behind it.
Amazing. So
I was finishing my business degree, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to put it into practice. How wrong could I be?
So obviously you both started in 2011 around at Lawn Street, but we'll get on to Lawn Street later on. But Stephen, we go back to your early days with your involvement with the Pirates. Obviously working at Lagoon, you were a DJ there. You're also helping out with the kit for the Pirates. How did you end up getting involved with the team?
So the reason I got involved with the team, my mum was actually on the supporters club committee. I think she was the treasurer at the time. I had my uncle who was the bus convener as well for the Pirates bus, the travelling buses for the support and stuff like that. And then eventually what happened was my mum ended up starting to go out with Graham, my stepdad, who was one of the equipment managers for the Pirates. So at that time, you're probably talking 13, 14 years old, I was asked to come down and help out because they were short of someone to fill the water bottles, basically. So I went down and started filling water bottles, taping sticks and stuff like that, tidying up the dressing room after the team was in and putting the kit away, stuff like that. Then eventually it managed to go to, I was going away in away games. I was travelling down to Telford with the team, the team bus. There's a couple of stories I could tell you about that, which is pretty funny. But that's how it kind of started. And then eventually I stopped doing that and started DJing for the Pirates instead. So when we first went to Braehead, the first ever game that the Pirates played in Braehead, there was 2,469 people in the crowd, and I was DJ and announcer. I had a friend, Callum, who was originally meant to do the announcing, but the diplomatic way was he he kind of had a wee accident in his pants, I think, when he seen how many people were there. And then I actually had to start doing the announcing and the DJing. So, and then eventually I progressed into being an equipment manager. I think it was the 18-19 season, where I was actually going down with my skate sharpening machine and sharpening the skates and cutting sticks for players and helping Ian out with the jerseys and stuff like that before games.
Amazing. And Pam, what was your kind of involvement with the Pirates? I know you've got kind of a colourful past with the Pirates. I don't know if...
Tell them the cheerleading story, Pamela. Tell them the cheerleading story, Pamela.
My involvement with the Pirates started when I grew up in the East End of Paisley. I grew up going to the Lagoon from about 13 years old. And then I think it was season 96, 97, Ruth and I auditioned to be part of a second line of cheerleaders. So they already had the original 5. We became the alternates, so we became the second line. We would swap games, alternate periods, and I started cheering for the Pirates around about 96. And then I cheered right through until I left the rink about 2000. But completely, we used to cheer the Pirates games, we would cheer the juniors games. We were never away from the rink. We were everything and anything to do with the Pirates. We went on away trips. We went to Blackburn with all 10 of us. We cheered in Blackburn, right down the front of all the fans. Travelled up and down the country with the team. Fell away from the sport completely around about 2000, 2001. And then when Stephen and I got back to being friends, got back in touch, got back into the game, got back into the sport. There's always been an affinity for us and the Pirates and the Pee-wees, which is now obviously the Clan Academy. We've always had an affinity with them because that's our roots, that's where we started, and Cold-Blooded Sports has always been about grassroots, the kids coming up in that kind of environment. So yeah, we've stayed in touch with the team. It's developed many, 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 many beautiful friendships over the years.
Yep, definitely has.
So let's, as we said at the start, you started out in Lawn Street, and obviously where we are now hasn't always been home for CBS. So, and I'm sure it is still quite emotional for you as well. But you had the fire in 2017, and that was obviously a very kind of tough time just after Christmas as well. What are you even now? What's your thoughts about exactly everything that happened, and recounting that? Obviously, it can conjure up some tough memories as well.
So I'm going to start with a bit of comedy aspect. I was just off the ice playing a game for the Irvine Flyers at the time, and I'd literally just came home, dumped my kit, and I would phone Pamela and says, right, I'm home, I'm going to go to my bed, and Pam's like, right, okay, no worries. So I sat down just to eat my dinner, and the phone goes, and it's one of my friends, George Beaton. George has been involved in ice hockey for years as well, came all the way through the beginners with me. Phoned me, he's at the fire brigade, he's like, Stevie, your shop's in fire. I'm like, aye, very good. Hung up the phone on him. Next thing, you get the phone call back, no, big man, I'm serious, you need to get up here as soon as possible, you need to get up here. I was like, right, okay, no worries. So I jump in the car and phone Pam on the way to tell her that the fire had happened. Pam's absolutely devastated. She didn't believe me. She thought I was taking the mickey. And literally, I turn up and you've got the shutters been ripped off, the doors off, the hinges. There's a hole in the side of the shop that we didn't know that was there. All of the equipment is burnt to a crisp. There's all the clothing's damaged, everything.
Everyone was lying on the floor because it was all in plastic bags, so it was littered everywhere. All the steels had fallen off the walls because the plastic had melted. The roof was black with smoke.
The whole of the back shop where we were where my sharpening machine was, the roof had fell in. That was all. It was horrible. I can still smell it. The smell haunts me because the smell of burnt hockey kit is the worst thing in the world. I mean, obviously there's other things that are worse than that, but for me personally, it was the smell of the shop just was ingrained in my nose for months.
Could smell it from. Well, we had to sift through all the debris, so
Yeah.
For weeks and weeks we had to sift through and count every last nut, bolt, pair of laces, roll of tape, and you could just, it seeped into everything. You'd open bags months later and the smell would hit you. It was horrendous. You just go straight back to that night that it happened.
Yeah. But if you just think to yourself, the flats above where we were actually situated, they were derelict, and we then found out that there was some choice people using it as a shooting gallery basically, and they had stole a couch from it, got it stuck in the close of the of the building, and set it on fire. And we were unaware that there was a false door halfway along the shop, because our shop actually used to be a flat. And long story short, it basically went through the false door and went through the entire shop and decimated the entire shop.
What was that? In pieces and ruins.
8 months later, we're still fighting with insurance. We're still trying to get our claim to be processed. We had to get a loss adjuster, a guy by the name of David Whittle, and he obviously had to fight on our behalf to try and make sure that we got the appropriate amount of settlement for what happened. Unfortunately, our insurance provider at the time was a broker, and the broker had changed our insurance probably about a week to 2 weeks before, and we didn't actually see any of the documentation for the insurance. So it came at such a busy time for us, because we were on to one of the busiest years we'd ever had. And
that was the season that Can-Am had closed down, so they had closed early-ish in the season, and we had one of the busiest Christmas periods, one of the best on record. We were on track to just smashing everything, and we went from this massive high through December and January, where we were going, right, this is the year, this is, we had started with this tremendous bank loan, and we were thinking, right, this is the year the bank loan will finish, this is the year everything will come together, we'll not be paying this, we'll be, making all this profit and actually getting on our feet and taking it to where it wants to be. And we went from this massive high thinking, right, we've cracked it, to 3 weeks later it literally lay in ashes, and we were like, I don't know where to start. We had just found out we were pregnant, and you're like, you've got this beautiful thing that's happening, and amongst all this debris and destruction, and the insurance company wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. They argued every nut bolt, everything had to be proven. We had to go through years of accounts. I think my documentation that I eventually submitted to the insurance was 3 inches deep, all highlighted and explicitly explained every nut, bolt, roll of tape, set of laces, everything we had to claim. There was a lot we couldn't claim because there were gifts that was given to us when we started. For example, heaters that people handed in, and desks that you've accumulated at home. Everything that you had started with, we couldn't claim back because we couldn't produce receipts from buying it for the shop. So if it didn't have a receipt, you didn't get it. We had to have a massive argument about the machine. Eventually we could buy it back for £500. We had to have a huge argument with the insurance company because they wanted to resell all the protective equipment within the UK, and categorically we were very lucky to be backed to the hilt with all of our suppliers on that one, and they said absolutely categorically no, this couldn't happen. This was safety equipment that had been fire damaged, so we had to get it. I believe the insurance company shipped it offshore. I don't know whether they shipped it for destruction or they shipped it to be sold in another country. By that point, the stock wasn't ours anymore, so we had no claim to it. Yeah, so that was the January, and we settled 1 week before the kids were due, and they were born on the 11th of October. So our entire pregnancy was in an insurance battle.
Yep.
The first penny that we got out of them was the end of June, because we signed a lease for this place to start mid-July, and we had to fight to get any money out of them, and we got a dribble of money just to be able to sign the lease on this place.
Mm-hmm. You also got to say that we have to say a massive thanks to Joe at Paisley Interiors. Mm-hmm. Joe had gave us his spare premises, which was originally the gents' lounge, which was a couple of doors down from where we actually were. he had actually just bought that over, and for 8 months we actually were able to use that rent free. So that was the reason why we kept going. Also, a massive thank you to CCM and Warrior, who kept us in sailor return equipment as well. They were absolutely fantastic, sending us stuff to keep us going.
Yeah, they too really backed us to the hilt, because if you think about it, we went from having, as any business works on, it's your cash flow. Your cash flow is imperative. And we were on a fantastic cash flow. We were running from really, really good cash flow weeks. And then, the counter argument to that is that we had high bills for that week. If you think about it, that you're selling a lot of equipment, you're buying a lot of equipment. It kind of swings and roundabouts. So we went from having a really, really busy season, a lot of invoices due, to nothing. No cash flow. Zilch. Zero. And then when we did manage to get reopened, it was taking laces and the odd sharpening. So you're dramatically reduced. And we were very, very, very fortunate that they all went, nope, we've got you. Take your time. We'll help you through it. They managed to give us some tape and laces and bottles and bits and pieces just to get us back open. So that was the Sunday. We were open on the Friday for bits and pieces with our portable machine, bits of tapes and laces and bottles and whatever, and we functioned that way till we moved in here in the July. And they were so kind that we ran to 60 days, we ran to 90 days, we ran to 120 days, but they managed to let us clear off what we could, but kept us going and kept us going. So obviously we moved over here, that would have been July 2017, and we had no debt as such, but a hill to climb out with suppliers. So we started on that kind of payment plan, moving forward, restocking the shop when we could afford it, and we were on our uppers again when COVID hit in 2020. We just hadn't got clear enough when COVID hit. We would have liked another few more years under our belts, a wee bit more of a safety net.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to be. And we ran headfirst into COVID and had to shut overnight.
Yeah.
Again.
And then we had to rely on loans and grants and stuff like that to be able to pay the bills, because while everybody else is followed and sitting at home, we were still having to pay electricity bills, we were still having to pay...
Again, we still had fire
debt.
stuff to clear out from underneath us. It wasn't just as simple as, we'll put a pin in it and come back in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
We were still climbing out of the hole that the fire had created to get shoved back in it when COVID hit. So it's been an upward climb for the last 7 years. I blame the children. It's the children's
It's the children's fault. I blame you.
I blame you.
So what was the kind of local support, but also from various other teams as well that after all that happened, there was, it's quite common knowledge that there was a rallying effort, but but for you guys, what was it like, having that there?
We had the team that I play for and coach, the Glasgow Mustangs. They'd done a Just Giving page, and there was a load of the guys put money in and stuff like that to be able to keep us going. There was one of my old coaches, Hash Campbell. Everybody would probably know Hash from the kind of Paisley Pirates games and being a coach for years and years. He came up to me with a card, and it was in an envelope, and who kind of gave me it, and I opened it up, and it was £100, and he said to me, "This is just a drop in the ocean to what you've lost. Put it towards something that you need." Which I then firmly went out and bought a Henry Hoover to use as an extractor for my portable sharpening machine.
I remember you come down saying, "Look, we can buy a Henry." But I mean, it was. We had messages from people that we hadn't, like, Puck Stop messaged us privately, which I was so blown away with, because they were that shop was who you put yourself against. You thought, I want to be like Puck Stop. That's who we want to be like. That's where we're going. That's who we want to, aspire to be. And for them to reach out and go, "We're absolutely gutted to hear what happened to you. If there's anything we can do," that really humbled me. We had the likes of Jason and Anne
from Demon Extreme.
Demon Extreme.
They had been through the same thing. They had been through it as well, so they had kind of been in contact and gave us a lot of advice and helped us out a lot, which was really, really good.
We had the likes of Graham Lester. He was like, "I'm a plasterer, let me know, I'll come plaster for free."
Colin Wilson.
"I've got warehouse space, can you use my warehouse space?" Like, there was so many that it was so humbling. The night of the fire, you had Will turned up, David Riddle turned up, your uncle turned up, Liam Riddle turned up, and then the day after the fire, because it was a crime scene until about, I don't know, later on in the afternoon. So I turned up the morning after the fire and sat outside the burnt out shop beside the police officers who was watching the premises, because it was like back doors off, front doors off. Well, we had a new back door. So they sat outside the premises. I sat in front of them with the dog in the car. Scott David come down. He sat with me for hours. So Ruth and Michelle come down. We ended up went into the Abbey Bar across the road. It was really early on. They were like, "Why are you in our pub at like 11 o'clock?" We all sat down, we had a drink. Not alcohol, we just had a drink. We had a coffee. We just get out the cold because it was January. And then my cousin popped down. Gordon came later on in the door and he patched us up and boarded up the back of the shop. We had to shovel all the debris back in the shop because we couldn't leave it outside because we're going to have to prove it and claim it. The Scottish Electric Networks came down and cut the electricity off from the road, so it had no electrics because it was unsafe. We didn't know what had been damaged. It was... And then, was it Monday night? So that was a Sunday night. Monday we were there and we're sifting through the debris. We're coated in muck and ugh. And there comes Tam Murphy with his son Tommy down the street. From the other end of the street, and I looks out the door and there's come Tommy strutting down the street and his Fireman Sam outfit, and Tam shouting, "Here's Fireman Shitey to help you out." And I was like, well, if you don't laugh you'll greet. So there was some really humorous times, but of course by the time it came to sifting through all the debris, I was really early pregnant, and like the smell of the place, what?
So that was my job. I had to sift through and box up all the laces and tape and.
Till I was about 10 weeks pregnant, I couldn't stomach the smell for any length of time. It was rotten. I was on paperwork duty. So,
as always.
Paperwork princess.
So obviously that is quite a big part of CBS's history, but you've also had so much more as well. And now we're looking at the kind of future and what's happening as well. So just recently you've announced that you've become the UK dealer for KYC. How did that all come about with serving the hockey sticks?
So I had originally been watching, obviously we have a YouTube channel and I watch a lot of YouTube. I don't usually watch a lot of TV. So I was watching Hockey Tutorial, and Hockey Tutorial were doing a review on a brand new brand called KYC. It was a breakout brand, and I actually emailed them personally myself and never get a reply. So when I spoke to Scott, who is our designer, Scott actually went on and managed to find who they were and what they were doing through LinkedIn, and he managed to speak to them and say, "We've been trying to get in touch with you for the last couple of weeks. We're interested in your products and stuff. Do you do custom sticks?" And then next thing, it was a case of, yeah, we can facilitate your order if you want to go ahead and get some stuff. Would you like to have a meeting? So literally we had a meeting and we said, what's the possibility of becoming a distributor for you guys in the UK? And they said, yeah, you got it. So it was literally just as quick and as easy as that. I think it was maybe about half an hour Zoom meeting I had with them.
To be fair, we had both researched each other. So KYC are up-and-coming brand and particularly focused at supplying equipment of pro-spec standards, but more open and affordable to the more general public. And as we kind of touched upon earlier on, Cold-Blooded Sports has always grew grassroots and making it accessible and entry to all. If somebody wants to play hockey, there shouldn't be barriers. And obviously it's an expensive sport to start and get involved with and also to maintain. So we've always been about growing it from the bottom up. That's our connections to the Pee-wees, latterly obviously Lanarkshire Lightning. We've always supported the kind of the group, the grassroots to it all, and they're very, very similar in their approach. So when we came to sit at the Zoom meeting that we had, I think we knew we kind of already had each other sized up. We already knew that we were going to be a really good fit for each other. And then we got on really well. What they were looking to achieve is what we were looking to achieve. And then it's obviously kind of pulled together from there.
Yep.
And then obviously we've all had a bit of life-changing circumstances that went in between, because obviously James has went and had a baby, and then KYC's had a baby, and we've went and obviously moving about houses and all the rest of it. But this summer it's all kind of came together.
Yep.
Brilliant. So I'm sure there'll be people that are listening just now who aren't fully aware of CBS. So what else? What kind of key services do you both bring to the shop these days?
So my services kind of list from glove repams to rivets, eyelets, repairs, goalie pad repairs, goalie pad rebuilds. I've actually done a couple of catcher rebuilds. So if you get a standard goalie catcher, a lot of the time you find that you can sometimes feel the puck through them. So what my kind of speciality is now is taking the goalie pad apart and rebuilding it to the point where it then becomes classed as like a pro pam. So you wouldn't necessarily feel it as much when you're obviously catching the puck. The repairs I do more or less rebuild skates, put the footbeds back on them if they've came back off, re-rivet them, put holders on, glove repams, inlines. Like we
had a cracker in the day.
Yeah, we had one that was put in today that was someone had fitted the chassis and it was off, and dramatically off, and I had to try and fix it and put it as straight as possible and make it so that it was usable, because the customer was complaining about arch pain, stuff like that. Pamela's kind of speciality is figure skating. She is absolutely fantastic at measuring the figure skates and getting them the right sizes and the right spec for what you're looking at. There is a term called overbooting, and you usually find that it's used with figure skating, where if you're in a skate that's way too stiff, it hinders your performance on the ice. It can be the same for junior hockey players as well. If they go for a skate that's way too stiff, if they then have to scale back and don't go for the top of the range skate, they actually learn to skate better and become better skaters because of that. But that's where Pam's kind of speciality comes in. She's good at the sizings and the equipment, whereas I'm just...
I genuinely thought you were going to say Pam's good at the talking.
That too.
Pam talks to the customers and I do all the work as normally the prospect.
Well, I do. I get my hands dirty.
Stephen's the Mina and I'm the Isa. He stands in the back shop.
Yeah, I stand in the back and shout abuse.
That's a top tier reference right there.
Yes,
it really is.
He's the Mina, I'm the Isa. Isa has to know. To the point that Toby Craig actually calls me Isa. I have a mug in there that Toby bought me. It's my Isa mug.
So what makes CBS different from other suppliers?
I'd like to think it's the environment we've built. We've always been about a safe place, a place to hang out, a place to chat, a place to go if you're troubled, a place to just be. You don't have to buy anything. The kettle's always on. You want to come and have a blether and shoot the shit, or you want to come and tell us your life story because you're really struggling, the door's there. There's far too, and if we look specifically at ice hockey, within the Mustangs alone, there's, people that have taken their own life because of mental health problems. Out with that, there's many. What if it was just a case of dropping into your local hockey shop and then that saved you? Mm-hmm. We're there. I know that sounds really cliche, but that's what we've built and that's what we've always done.
Yeah, we've definitely built a safe space.
Yeah. I would agree. So that's what makes us different. I think we're more open. The door's always there.
Also, from a salesman's point of view, if a kid comes in and says that they want to buy the top of the range equipment and their mum and dad or their parent, guardian, whatever it is worried about having to buy that equipment, we will 9 times out of 10 advise them that they don't need the top of the range equipment. You can get away with something that's, 1, slightly cheaper, and 2, just as good. which is to the detriment of the kids, where the kids absolutely hate coming in
The
the store.
amount of arguments we've created because we're like, oh no, you don't need those boots. You can see the child going, oh, shut up, don't tell her that. Because they've spent 6 weeks convincing mum that they need these top end skates that are £900. And we go, they're too stiff for you. Why don't you try these £400 skates? And mum goes, thank you so much. And the child's drawing you daggers and thinking that they're wishing you hell.
Still probably the most expensive, something to wear that they've actually owned as well.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since when we started. I mean, you're talking the top of the range pair of skates that when we started were about £320. Now they're up over £1,000. It's wild. And a lot of people think that you make lots of money on skates and stuff like that. You really don't. By the time that you pay your VAT and your suppliers and everything else, you're probably making about £36 off a £1,000 pair of skates. So it's not that we're in it for the money in any way, shape or form.
I'm thinking of changing our status to charity anyway. Not for profit. Hasn't been for profit for 14 years. Why start now?
You might get that because I've got ginger hair.
Okay. Sport Scotland can use sport anyway. So yes, we're not the most popular with with children. Popular with parents who tell them that they don't need to buy all that money and equipment. But it's always been quite an elite sport. So you've always got people wanting to spend their money on their wee Jimmy or their wee Janie or whatever just because they can, which is great, but they don't need it, and it's an expensive enough sport.
So yeah, we'll try to make it more accessible for people, and it's another thing, I suppose.
Yep.
So let's get on to the partnership with the Pirates. How did that all kind of come around? Obviously, with your history there with the team, was that the kind of foot in the door for that, or was it more further conversation?
I'm going to go back to the whole aspect of I had been warned, and this is I had been warned, stay away from the Tullies. You'll not like the Tullies. And I'm like, that's not the case at all. I'm going to take everybody at face value. And I remember they had an issue with another store, and it was a pair of Chris's skates, and they came to me to get them heat moulded, and we gave them really good service and just took them at face value and never made any assumptions about them. And they're one of the nicest families you're ever going to meet. So it was that whole aspect of, like I say, there was a lot of people in the hockey community trying to keep you away from them, but that's just because they don't actually know them themselves.
They don't know them. The Turleys are so passionate and so committed, one, to the Pirates, but two, to the sport. I mean, they don't do it for anything other than the love of the sport. And the one thing I'll always say about the Turleys, and in particular Jackie, when we were struggling in terms of childcare for the kids and trying to keep the shop going, and genuinely we didn't see a way forward, Jackie's like, it's fine, I've got you covered, I'll take the kids. And she started looking after the kids on, I can't remember what day it was, whether it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday or whatever day, I'll take them. And for about 3 or 4 weeks, she stepped in and she was the childcare for that day. I would drop them off in Erskine, she would look after them, I'd pick them up after. And it was a fantastic help because we were waiting on the nursery date starting, and it was just my mum on the childcare duty at the time, and she was really struggling. So Jackie taking them a day a week really helped. And from that day point forward, we were already pretty close at that stage, but that is something I'll never forget and always go back to, is Jackie was there when we needed her, and we will always be there when Jackie needs us. And that is out with the commitment to the team and the Pirates. We are committed to Ian and Chris through their journey, playing hockey, coaching hockey, whatever they're going to do. We'll always help Jackie out, but the families have become so close, and it's kind of... and also Jack and Max, because we've moved on to the next generation now.
Yeah, so like I say, when it came to that whole aspect of taking them at face value, then it was just a case of they had originally asked us if we were interested in sponsoring, and we said, yeah, okay, it's not a problem, because we were looking for something different other than a league. We had not necessarily what you would class as the greatest of experience supporting a specific elite league team, but then we had a really good experience supporting another elite league team. And then when we decided to not support elite we decided that the Pirates was the next best thing and a good fit for us.
Well, the elite team we were sponsoring was, what's the word? Pipped to the post with a rink, so they were no longer, and so we didn't finish. My mum's phoning. They didn't finish. We finished up sponsoring them, so we had a different direction to move in, which moved to the Pirates. We always were kind of on the sidelines to that, but we made it more official.
The Paisley Pirates podcast is going live. Join us on the 30th of August at the Wine Centre in Paisley, where we'll be talking with legends of the 1997 Scottish Cup winning squad. Get your ticket now at www.paisleypirates.co.uk and click on the events tab. We cannot wait to see you there.
Why does being a community-focused sponsor matter to you guys?
Well, again, there's a lot of guys that I played with in the Pirates, like the likes of Chris Wilson. He was in my team, who is actually just on loan to the Pirates until he decides that he's going to come back and play for the Mustangs instead.
Yeah, we've got more waivers.
Yeah, and we seem to be a retirement home for some of the Pirates players as well. We've got Martin Guy and Richard Thorpe that's playing with us as well just now.
We had Liam Riddle till he went and started playing about cars.
And Gary Morris as well. He used to be one of the Pirates. So yeah, we have. It's probably the community aspect of the fact that we've known these people for a long time and we've got an admiration for them and what they do with the hockey. So yeah, I would say that's probably the reason for me, is I've played with a lot of these boys. I've watched them play for years as well.
Stockholm syndrome, I've never known anything else.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So recently as well, you've spoken about your kind of digital outreach, and you've now launched the YouTube channel. So what sparked that launch to create that?
So again, with regards to the YouTube stuff, it was one of my friends, Ryan, who has a channel. He had about 89,000 followers. It was called Beginners Tech, and Ryan did the reviews on tech, so like mobile phones and computers and stuff like that. And he pulled me aside one day and said to me, "You're missing a trick by showing or showcasing what you can actually do with your repairs, like your Pam repairs, your skate repairs, your sharpenings, whatever else that you can do. We genuinely think you should look into a kind of fly on the wall kind of type documentary of what you do on a day-to-day basis." Pamela has a saying that people are inherently nosy. And it's
because I'm inherently nosy.
It's because you're Isa.
It's because I'm Isa.
So it was one of these things where Ryan kind of pushed us in that direction, and then we were
3 years later.
We were going to do it. We genuinely were going to do it before COVID, and then COVID hit, and then we decided that we were going to. Well, I was a bit of a blouse when it came to it. I didn't really feel like I wanted to do it, but then eventually I made the jump and done a couple of videos and felt quite comfortable.
I knew if I bought you enough cameras, you would catch on.
Yeah, it was the fact that I had to learn to edit. So like the first day that the first video that I did, it took me the whole day to edit. Now I'm doing 3 and 4 videos in a couple of hours, adding like editing Pam's and butts out, and then
just keep you busy.
And then obviously having to put music on it and different things as well. So yeah, it's definitely been a learning curve, but I really enjoy doing it. And the outreach aspect is to more or less advertise what we can do, how we can do it, and we've had people from all over the UK send us stuff to fix. Example being, we had a guy, Valentine, who was an ex-teammate of mine. He used to send me steels from London to get them sharpened because he wouldn't trust anybody else. There was people that would come up from the Lake District to get their skate sharpened and stuff like that as well.
Well, you kind of just answered the next question. Do you believe it has driven more footfall and eyes on the brand itself?
Yes. I think it's got us recognised a little bit more, both digitally and in person, because you'll be in the most obscure places and people go, "Oh, it's Steve and Pam from Cold Blooded Sports. I watch your YouTube. You're doing really well on YouTube. I really like your YouTube," which I still find really bamboozling because I don't know why you'd want to watch us. I know that sounds like I can't. I hate watching it back. Stephen will say, "Did you watch the video today?" Of course, you didn't watch the video. I don't watch the videos back. I make them, and that's it. It's done in my eyes. So it's still a bit funny for me. I'm like, obviously, I'm absolutely humbled and completely blown away by the support and appreciation, which is great. But I still find it really weird. Still find it really bad.
That one time when we were down at the beach, we took the dogs a walk and we were just kind of like standing covered in sand, head to toe. Dogs were
Look
like
hillbillies, just generally looking terrible.
There's a woman going, "Oh, you're Stevie and Pam from Cold Blooded Sports. We use your shop. We like your YouTube channel." And like, yeah.
We had taken non-alcoholic beers down, and the kids were having an ice cream, and the dogs were panting away, covered in sand. It was just coming out of winter, so we were all zipped up, and we sitting in the kind of semi-winterish spring sun, and we cheersed, and she's like, "Hello, Stephen and Pam," and I was like, "Hide the beer, hide the beer. It's non-alcoholic, doesn't matter, hide it." We've got a bad reputation. So yeah.
So how does it kind of fit into your kind of mission to grow the sport within Scotland?
Well, we keep wanting to win the lottery so we can build a rink, but that keeps falling flat in its face.
That's the thing. Is the shop, obviously, we would love the shop to then lead into something different, like a training facility of some description, possibly even our own rink, to be able to not just help out the kind of juniors, but to obviously help out the Pirates and try and have a rink somewhere in Paisley again. We obviously spoke about it before. It was one of the kind of things that we spoke about when the shop was doing really well, was if we could afford to try and see if we could get a training facility, like shooting cages where people could come and work on their shot, skating treadmill so that people could be critiqued on their skating and be helped along the way. Specialist coaches, sport-specific coaching and sport-specific off-ice training as well. That's the kind of the next plan that we would have. But again, we would think we need to win the lottery for that one.
Yeah. Or live in the streets and sell all the houses.
Exactly.
I mean, that is something, I think it's quite the conversation that people have had, more so recently as well, how, Paisley doesn't have that rink anymore. And I think a lot of people are missing it, and some believe that, the council could potentially be missing a trick here.
It was abused from the start.
It's from the fact that I had basically went from the first ever skating session that happened in the lagoon. I was at it, and then I basically grew up in that place. The same as Pamela, we grew up in there. It was a hub. It wasn't just a hub. It was a community, and the Pirates, in my opinion, always created a community of friends. It was like a family as well. You don't get that, in my opinion, with the likes of Braehead. Unfortunately, that rink, the Lagoon Leisure Centre, was absolutely unbelievable with regards to friendships that you make through playing, watching the Pirates, going away in away games and stuff like that. The camaraderie. I just think nowadays you just don't get that, and it's definitely something that's missing from the sport, in my opinion.
You had all the kids would get the K cards in the summer, so you would get free entry during the week, and it got kids off the street, gave them something to do, and the abuse, in my opinion, the abuse at the end of the life of that rink, that it was allowed to just sit and rot, and then when they did get the grant, they just dug it all up and got rid of it. I mean, yes, Braehead was established by that point. Yes, it's a commercial rink, but there should be a community rink. There should be a community rink, and that has been mishandled and abused by the council. The council could and should have done more to make sure the rink was put back in. It wasn't their fault that there was subsidence. It wasn't their fault that the pad failed, but it is their fault that they didn't fix it.
But that's when it comes down to that whole aspect of the being portrayed that the rink was going to cost too much money to fix, and it was costing too much money to run, and they went down the route of gym memberships and swimming pools. Unfortunately, instead of supporting the ice rink.
And in my opinion, the person that was responsible for that is to blame. The person that was at the top of the tree is to blame. In my opinion, it's my opinion only, for what it's worth. It's not worth anything. But that rink could have been fixed.
Do you reckon there's appetite for it then?
I would say so. There's definitely an appetite for an ice rink in Paisley again, I would say. Something specifically that was more
Community-based, community size. We don't need arenas. We don't need thousands of seats.
Something that's probably the size of Auchenharvie and Stevenson would be ideal.
Couple of change.
I was going to say like the Galleon, for example.
Yeah.
That kind of size.
Much better condition than the Galleon. Would be great.
Yeah, like the kind of rinks, I feel that the kind of what you'd probably be looking for, in my opinion, is having something the size of Harvey's, something which is very, very similar to what the size of the lagoon used to be. But you're also looking at something with a lot of changing facilities that can be used as a hub for rec teams, SNL teams, junior development tournaments, stuff like that.
Figure skate tournaments, figure skate competitions, you know. Curling makes, you know, there is an appetite. Curling makes the rinks money, but there's no reason why curlers, figure skaters, and hockey players can't survive in a rink together. They just don't hate each other.
They're kind of doing that well in Hamilton, to be fair. Granted, it's a smaller rink, but they're kind of making that work there.
Yeah. Again, when you look at it from someone that's worked in the lagoon, we would have your junior development training sessions on a Monday night, and it would be from 4 or 5 in the afternoon all the way up until like midnight, because you would have your 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s, 21s, Scot 1, where they would all train. The next night would be a skating session. The next day you would have patch ice, figure skating ice, skating session, pirates session. Then your Wednesday and Thursday would be your curling. Your Thursday night would be your pirate session again. Friday night or Friday all day you would have patch ice, figure skating. Pirates would be on for the afternoon skate. You would have a skating session again. You would have rec teams in Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. You would have your pirates games at the weekend as well. It was busy. It was a busy rink.
That rink had very little downtime. It was open from 6 a.m. Figure skate patch ice was on. Schools were in. Like Stephen said, the schedule, and then it ran. There was rec teams in right up to 1 a.m. The staff were in from 1 until 2. They flooded the ice, went home 2. The next staff were in at 6. That rink very rarely shut. And that's how you have to run a community rink. It has to be open all the time. You have to keep it going. You're paying to have that ice to be frozen whether somebody stands on your pad or not. So you need to pack it. You need to have it open first thing in the morning. You need, you know, you've got university teams, you've got rec teams, you've got adults that will train till 1 a.m. No problem. But you have to make it accessible and you have to make it affordable. And unfortunately, commercial rinks, commercial arenas that do cost a lot more are too expensive. They're too expensive for that model to survive.
Like back in the day when I was in the lagoon, it was £60 an hour for the ice. Now, if you look at somewhere else, it's like £300 an hour. It's $450 for an hour and a half, and that's
£12 to skate.
Yeah, it's like the skating sessions used to be £150 or £155 to be able to go in, even for an adult, or £3 at most. But it's you can see obviously things have changed, the economics have changed, but I think we need to kind of bring it back to more affordable ice and making sure that everyone can afford it again.
You need to get the kids out of their bedrooms and off of their computers, and you know, obesity is at its highest. And I look at my kids who will be brought up in ice rinks because we're in the situation to make it happen. They will be swimming, they will be active, but sometimes that's not accessible to kids. We're in a privileged position. Other kids, they should have a local rink. They should be able to go and do these things. If they want to pick up a stick and a puck and have a go at it, they should be available to do it. And it shouldn't be, buy a £500 kit and then we'll see if you can skate or play or whatever. So we need to make it a lot more accessible. We need to bring the grassroots on. Otherwise, we're going to stagnate at the top eventually. Elite League at the moment in Scotland is all about the imported players that we bring in. It's a showcase. It's an entertainment. It's not. Let's be honest. With the exception of the likes of Brodie Kay, who has managed to work incredibly hard to break through, and is now obviously announced he's signing to Cardiff. Or Cardiff has announced he's signing. There's very little Scottish talent coming through that isn't making it above SNL, and that's sad because we don't have the investment below to bring it up, to keep it coming up.
But then
particularly in the West Coast.
So you've got the national leagues like Solway and stuff like that are bringing kids on, and they're kind of helping that way as well, which
that's
is good.
Fantastic.
But you've then got to think of, they want the commitment of needing enough a pro full-time player. but then they're not able to back that up financially to help the kids as well. So there's a catch-22.
So hard. It's such a hard league to make it work for people. And then, of course, you get the likes of the talent. And I speak personally from Liam Riddle, who had so much talent, but he gets sickened because he's a young boy, he's doing an apprenticeship, he's working, he's having to then go to training 2-3 nights a week. And then he's, then he finds a pub, then he finds his DJ pal and blah, blah, blah. And next thing, I understand why. I can see it. I can completely understand why you go, I've had enough, I'm done, I'm out, I want to go and enjoy my life. Who's to say if he got a decent wage from a young age, maybe his path would be different? Who knows?
Yeah.
We just don't have that option. James Wallace, he had so much talent. He still does have the talent. But he reached an age where I need to go and earn a wage, I need to go and earn a salary, I need to go and earn money. I can't earn £100 a week and wait for my big break. I need to go and earn money, So they're adults paying them pocket money. If that. It would be much better to see the Brits, and I think the Brits play with more grit and determination, and I much prefer watching an SNL game that's feistier, that's more entertaining than it is watching an elite game, which is watching paint dry sometimes.
Well, I was talking about this to someone earlier on today, and they were saying that going to a clan game, great, it seems more like a family atmosphere, but SNL seems to be for the hockey fans. Is that kind of...
I would, yeah.
I would say originally what I would say is there's more of a family atmosphere at the Pirates. We always used to call it a family sport back in the day when I was young, because the kids were always accepted, it didn't matter. And,
oh yeah, definitely.
But whereas example being now when you look at the Elite League, everybody's just a pound sign, unfortunately.
I would go on and say that going to the clan is a great night out. It's very commercialised. It's no more different to going to a concert or going to the cinema. It is no more different to going to the Hydro to watch a concert, effectively. Your Pirates is more about, you get your tea and your coffee and you get your wee snack bar, you've got milling about, you've got a bar, you've got chuck a duck, you've got multiple things for the kids to do. Jackie's very much about bringing on the mascots and, and it's still, because you still see the diehard Pirates fans that were Pirates fans in our day. When we were kids running around the rink, they're still there. They're still going in their wee bomber jackets and their Boston Bruins and all that stuff. You see the same jackets, you see the same guys. So it has been a community that's grew up, and they kind of, what we would have been the younger generation has came up behind it. And now they're a new younger generation. So you've got one very, very commercialised and one very more family friendly, and kind of my opinion.
Just before we wrap up, where can the people listening find CBS?
Silk Street. Not Lawn Street.
12 Silk Street, Paisley. And then YouTube, Cold Blooded Sports Ice Hockey Shop. You've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Don't follow us on Twitter because
we don't tweet. TikTok. We're on TikTok as well.
We've got a website. We've got a mobile phone.
www.coldbloodedsports.com. We've got the new phone number that you could say what the new phone number is.
You'll get it on Google.
There you go.
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
So what do you have coming up, either on the YouTube channel or in store?
Well, once we move house, which is going to take all the focus in the next few weeks, we are also focused on redeveloping the store. It needs a lick of paint. It hasn't had a lick of paint in 7 years. Giving it a lick of paint, giving it a clean, giving it a tidy. We've got a couple of new boxes, new benches coming for the windows, and new KYC stick rack for the middle, unveiling all that. So the store's going to look cleaner, tidier. It's going to be more stocked, and we are hoping to have so much more customers next year.
Also hoping that on the YouTube channel we can go back to doing the reviews and interviews again. So I'm hoping that obviously we've done a couple of player interviews. We did Matt Haywood and Jordan Boessa. We've done Ross Conley. We've done an interview with Toby Craig, everyone's favourite referee.
That's your Mike.
I will say I would love to get Toby on this. I would love to get Toby on this.
Let's go.
I might be able to make that happen for you. we can see if we can get Toby on, and there's a lot of different things we've got planned. There's a lot of like I say, reviews and stuff on the YouTube channel that I'm going to try and do, and like I say, interviews and some different content. So hopefully.
And obviously there's the nosy stuff. You'll still follow us and the kids. The kids seem to be developing their... Is that for YouTube, Mummy? And I'm like, oh, here we go. They might have their own YouTube channel if I can convince them.
Amazing. No, folks, this has been brilliant. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And looking forward to seeing where you guys are going next. As always.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you.
The Paisley Pirates are proud to be sponsored by Cold Blooded Sports, Renfrewshire Council, CycleLane.co.uk, Custom Sports Stitch, Hillington Tyre Services, Al Gould Photo, Studio 13, Abbey Services, and the Falk family.